Howdy folks, welcome back to another Out of Spec Renew video. Today we've got this Fiat 500e in here. It's got a bit of a charging problem, so let's go ahead and take a look at it and see if we could fix it. I want to give a big thanks to our friends at the CCAN Action Fund for sponsoring this video. If you're looking for your chance to drive off in a brand new electric vehicle and support a nonprofit organization, well, one of the best nonprofits that's fighting for clean energy is running their 7th annual EV raffle, and this year is their biggest one yet. You've got amazing odds to win because for the first time ever there will be 3 prize winners, and there's only going to be 10,000 tickets sold, so you've got pretty great odds of winning. The prizes really are stunning. The first prize winner gets picked between one of 6 different luxury EVs, including a Rivian R1S or R1T, a Porsche Macan EV or the Porsche Taycan, or a Lucid Gravity or a Lucid Air. The second prize winner gets to pick between a Hyundai Ioniq 5 or a Volkswagen ID Buzz, and for the first time ever this year there will be a third prize winner which gets to take home a brand new Chevrolet Equinox EV. And even better yet, state and federal taxes are also covered by the organization. The CCAN Action Fund fights for clean energy nationwide, and by supporting them you could not only win a new EV, but you're also supporting a great cause. So it really is a win-win. To enter, visit www.evraffle.org. Again, that's evraffle.org, or you can visit the link in the description below. Tickets are only $200, so make sure to get yours today. And once again, thanks to the CCAN Action Fund for sponsoring this video. Alrighty, so full disclosure, I've actually already kind of performed all the diagnostics for this car behind the scenes, but let me show you what's actually going on. So we'll go ahead and get the car plugged in here. And you can hear the contactors close, and it starts to try and charge. The dash says vehicle plugged in, but you can see our dash indicator does not say that it's charging. If we come over here to the scan tool, I'm connected to the onboard charger here, and you can see we've got our AC side voltage comes up when our EVSE closes its relays there. We've got max amperage, we've got current request, which ramped up to 3.75 amps, but it hasn't gone up from there. And we do have pack voltage present as well, somewhere in here. I'd have to search around to find it, but right here you can also see we have our control pilot and our proximity, both present and accounted for. Everything looks good there. So it looks like we've got an AC side supply issue. Of course, the EVSE, we can try this with any EVSE that we want. We know that the EVSE is not the problem. We know that the onboard charger seems to be measuring input voltage, but it's not outputting any current. We also know that it's connected to the battery. We have battery side voltage. I've also gone ahead and checked for continuity between the charge port and the onboard charger, as well as between the battery and the onboard charger, and we don't have any interruptions there. So I think that our issue is going to be with the power stage in the onboard charger. Onboard charger failures are not unheard of for the 500e. I wouldn't say that it's a common failure by any means, but certainly not an unheard of one. So I think what we're going to end up doing here is we're going to end up needing to swap the onboard charger out. So I'll go ahead and get everything disconnected on the car, and then we can start getting this thing pulled out. Luckily, it's right here on top, fairly easy to get to. Probably, honestly, the hardest part of this whole procedure is probably just dealing with having to drain the coolant out. So anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing pulled out of here. Alrighty, I've gone ahead and disconnected our 12-volt battery there. Let's go ahead and pull our high voltage disconnect on this thing, which lives under the back seat. We'll just push on this tab, pull the lever up, it goes up to about a 45, then we'll push the tab again and rotate it all the way vertical. And I'll just set that right up there. And now we can go ahead and get started on getting ready to pull the onboard charger out here. I guess the trickiest thing here is going to be determining how to drain the coolant. There's not a super easy coolant drain point in here, but we actually don't need to drain very much because we're near the top of the system on this thing. So I might be able to just kind of drain the reservoir out. And hopefully we won't make too big of a mess here. All right, well, apparently I didn't quite catch it on camera, but basically what I did here is I just siphoned as much coolant as I could out of this portion of the system as possible. I just took kind of the overflow tube here off, attached a piece of hose to it, and then siphoned it into my catch container down there. So now hopefully when we go to take the main hoses off the charger here, we won't make too big of a mess. I've actually got both clamps on this off, so I can go ahead and pull this hose off of here as well. Maybe I can shine a light in there and just see if there's any coolant present there or not. But by the way, these clamps are terrible. They're like a crimped together hose clamp. I don't know if it's really going to be possible to get those back together again. Might have to swap out to just regular constant tension hose clamps or something. But anyway, we'll go ahead and set this aside. Taking a look at the charger here, I've got this cover off, and I also noticed this tube, when I went to take that off, it had just been zip tied onto here. And a lot of these connectors are kind of broken. Obviously, I had these off earlier when I was messing around with that stuff, but those were already busted. So I actually think that this charger may have been replaced at some point in the past already. Yeah, and actually, like looking at the marks on the hose clamps and stuff here, they don't line up with everything. So I kind of wonder if this charger has been out before. Yeah, and the paint marks on that bolt don't line up. That one doesn't. Those ones don't really appear to have paint marks. There's paint marks on the charger, but not on the fasteners. Yeah, I think this has been apart before. And there's some other stuff going on here like this. It's not connected to anything. Yeah, definitely some funkiness. Anyway, we can go ahead and get this stuff unplugged. So that's our data connector. These all have these white tabs that push out. And these are like a two-stage kind of locking connector. And this one actually, the first tab is broken. But yeah, what you do is normally you push down on this tab, slide it out a little bit, and then the second stage you have to pry up the other way. And because of the cowl being in the way here, it's a little bit tricky to do that. So you have to use a pick tool and kind of do it backwards. But then it just comes off like so. Boom. And of course that one's busted as well. All right, let me grab this call. All right, we're back. So now I'm going to go ahead and unbolt the charger here. We've got a total of 6 fasteners, 2 at the back and 4 at the front. So go ahead and get all these loosened off. And by the way, there's definitely signs of rodents having been in here. That was one of my initial thoughts on this when it first came in, was maybe there was some chewed on wiring or something, but I don't actually see any signs of anything being chewed on. There's just a lot of signs that there were rodents in here. I guess I'll go ahead and just set that on there so that we don't get a bunch of contamination in our coolant reservoir there. Alrighty, and there's actually this metal piece that clamps over the top of the charger there, so we'll just kind of leave that in the back. Okay, got a little ground there, so we want to make sure not to forget that. When we go to put it back together, then we'll try and get these hose clamps off. Yeah, what a terrible hose clamp design. They're like semi-permanent, sort of. There we go. Just gotta grab it and kind of twist it off. I think that what I can do is I can actually pick this up slightly. And that'll give me a little bit more access to pull the hoses off. Oh yeah, I can see coolant in there, but it's far enough down that we should be good. I'll just have to make sure not to let the hoses drop down too far. Let's set this clamp up here, and hopefully, oh yeah, that hose is going to want to start draining. Oh. And of course, our charger drained all over the place. Right, couldn't quite find anything to plug that with for the moment, but we can just zip tie it up here where it won't end up making a mess. And now we can grab the charger and pull it right out of there. Just drain the coolant out of it. And bingo, there we go. That's the charger removed. All right, so let's see if we can determine whether or not this thing suffered from some kind of obvious internal failure. Try and pull the cover up on it. They've got one screw that they put glue into to try and prevent you from removing it. The rest of them are all intact though. Oh, there we go. Do I got it? Mostly. There we go. All right, let's get this thing opened up. Don't see anything. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There is indeed an obvious failure. That right there let the smoke out. So that right there is our smoking gun, I guess. Now all that's left to do is go ahead and swap in a replacement charger. It might be possible. It would probably be possible to repair this. Don't know if there's any other damage that may have happened to any other components in here. But honestly, I don't know that it's even worth the labor time and stuff to do this. I don't do board level repairs on stuff. I have a shop that can do it for me. But the cost to repair this versus just swapping in another used charger, I mean, the cost difference would be negligible. So yeah, I actually already have a charger here ready to put in it. So let's go ahead and get that thing prepped to go into the car. I might have to figure out something for the hose clamps though, because yeah, those hose clamps, I don't think we're going to be able to reuse them very effectively just because of the way they're constructed. Alrighty, got our shiny and new, quote unquote. It's not new, it's used. But we've got our fresh onboard charger ready to go in here. I'm going to try and see if I can reuse these hose clamps, although that might be a little bit tricky. I think the bigger ones I can get back on there. It's the little ones on this little crossover tube that I'm not so sure that I can get. So might have to get some different hose clamps for those. I don't have any hose clamps here at the moment that'll fit that. So hopefully we can make it work. If not, I'll probably have to run to the store and grab some different clamps. But let me see if I can cut this zip tie off right here. Probably should use pliers for that, but there we go. So this hose we can attach to the charger. Like so. And then this hose up here, we can can also attach on the charger, like so. Let's see if we can get those back together. Dang, that is awfully close. Kind of lost my ability to squeeze on that because it slipped down there. Trying to find the right approach to these is proving to be tricky. Oh, just about got it though. Look at that. Okay, so we got that one on. Let's see if we can get this one on. Yep, okay. That wasn't so bad. Just had to get kind of the right angle on it. Get this lined up. Got to make sure to retain our ground here. And we can go ahead and get our bolts all started. Oh, almost forgot. I have this bracket back here that has to sandwich on top of the charger before I can get those bolts in. Okay, at least got all those started. We can go ahead and plug our connectors back in here. I don't like that a lot of these are kind of busted, but they do at least have enough retainer clips to keep them on. There we go. Okay, let me grab my impact and we'll get those tightened, and then I still need to see if I can reuse the clamps on the little hose there. Boom. Alrighty. Let's see if we can get our other hose on here. Dang. I can almost get it. The problem is that the pliers are actually getting in the way of that hooking over, and if I try and grab further back on the hose clamp here, it basically just slips. Maybe if I get a second pair of pliers, I can do it in 2 stages. Or maybe I can grab my actual hose clamp tool. I don't think this'll grab it though. By the way, shout out to the viewer who recommended this thing. It works awesome. Yeah, so we can't quite get enough, but I might be able to get enough of a grab with this now. This is a little too bulky, maybe. Unless I can grab it from the edge. Time for a different plan of attack here. So I'm going to squeeze that together as far as I can. And I'm going to take this and try and take it the rest of the way. Problem is it's not working out very well for me here. Okay, well, I'm going to have to find some different hose clamps for that. But I think we can at least test this thing, make sure it works before I go trying to grab more parts. Let's go ahead and get the high voltage disconnect back in. We'll get the 12-volt battery connected, and we'll just briefly test this to make sure it works. Obviously, we need to refill the coolant and stuff, but we're just going to put it on 110 for, 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. Make sure it starts charging, and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, high voltage disconnect is going in. Boom. Common mistake on these, by the way, is that people don't insert that fully and it doesn't lock all the way in. Then you end up with a high voltage interlock fault. All right, let's get our 12-volt battery connected. Okay, I hear contactors and everything, so that's a good sign. Let's see what happens if we try to plug in. Maybe? Look at that, we've got a charging indicator. So this has 5 little LED segments that light up corresponding to state of charge. Right now, obviously, we're basically dead. So it's just at 1 bar, but we are indeed charging. I guess we can reconnect with the Autel here and make sure we actually have current flowing. See if it refreshes here in a moment. Oh yeah, our VCI was disconnected. There we go. AC side current, 11.7 amps. Perfect. Current available, 3.75 amps, which that's 3.75 amps DC output at whatever voltage it's outputting right now, probably like 360 something would be my guess. 370. Close enough. Cool. Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing unplugged because we don't want to damage our charger with running it without coolant. And I guess I need to determine, or I need to find a hose clamp option to get those reconnected. Those ones we will get done, so that's good at least. But those, I'll have to see if I can find some constant tension hose clamps for those. I don't like using worm clamps because they just don't hold up very well because the tension on them changes like with changes in temperature. So yeah, anyway, spring clamps are going to hold up way better. So I'll have to see if I can find some spring clamps in the right size for that. And yeah, I'll come back to you guys when I figure out a solution. Alrighty, I got some clamps. They're sort of a hybridized sort of cross between a screw clamp and a spring clamp. Close enough, they'll do the job. This is low pressure and it's really just for the overflow anyways. Now all that really has to go on is just this little cover right here, but I'm actually trying to get all the air purged out of the cooling system. You can see I didn't quite get all of the coolant in. I'm going to go ahead and get the car started up here, and then we will get our coolant flowing. Let's see if that does the trick. All right, I got the coolant topped up, 12-volt battery and everything's tightened down. We're all done under the hood here. Technically, there's supposed to be a cover that goes over the top of this, but this car is missing that piece, so it's not going to get it reinstalled. And now all that's left to do is plug it in. The car is so dead right now that it won't even move at all. So I'm going to have to just roll it back in neutral close enough to my bigger EVSE over here, and we'll get it plugged in, charge it up, and then we'll take it for a spin and make sure that there's no other issues with the car. Alrighty, I've got the car plugged into my 40 amp EVSE over here. And it does indeed appear to be charging. Let's see what we've got for scan tool data. Looks like we're pulling 29 amps, so that's good. This car maxes out at 30 amps, so that's basically all that it's gonna pull. Battery side voltage looks good. Awesome. Well, sweet. I guess I'll let the car charge up here for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, just enough to get some juice in it, and then we'll try and take it for a spin, make sure there's no other problems with it, and then we'll be able to wrap this thing up. Alrighty, I just got the Fiat unplugged here. Looks like we're at 42% now. I let it charge for, I don't know, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. So let's take it for a little spin. We are indeed ready. I don't see any faults other than low tire pressure and a parking brake on. Oh, that one's at 10 PSI. I might put some air in it before we go for a spin. Alrighty, tires are all aired up. We're going for a little spin here. Our tire pressure monitoring light is still on. It'll probably take it a minute to calibrate there. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that the ambient temperature is way off. Definitely not 147 degrees outside, although it is pretty warm. That'll be the ambient temperature sensor, which lives in the passenger side mirror, I believe, which is kind of a common failure mode for these. It can actually cause the climate control to not really work properly, because if it thinks it's 147 when it's actually cold out, the heater doesn't actually work. So I've actually done those before. Speaking of climate control, let's make sure our climate control works for AC and everything. Get the windows rolled up here. There we go. It looks like we are driving just fine. No apparent issues. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this test drive and bring it back to the shop. Alrighty folks, well that's it for this one. Yeah, got it all sorted. Car now charges. Everything seems to function properly other than just that ambient air temperature sensor. And this tire pressure monitoring sensor never came back on my test drive. So maybe it's faulty, or maybe it just needs some more miles put on it to recalibrate itself. But yeah, I'll let the customer know about those things. The tire thing, I don't do tire stuff, so he'd have to go to a tire shop if there is an issue there. But I might do the ambient air temperature sensor if he decides that's something that he wants to do on it. But anyway, that's it for this particular repair. So yeah, anyway, as always, thanks for watching.